I am the comp beast in the darkness, the floater on the wall, the outcast that flips against the house, the light that brings the fans, the horn that rouses the internet, the HOH that bolsters this week of Big Brother. Night gathers, and now my reign begins. The wall, the edge, the plank, the conspiracy festival? A 30-foot monstrosity unlike anything else to ever exist in the Big Brother backyard? Well, except for the time this comp happened. Dating all the way back to July 31st of 2008, we first saw the official wall appear as a head of household competition on Big Brother 10. And since that fateful day, civilization as we know it has never been the same again. Tree huggers, hang gliders, and all the conspiracy theorists in between. Internet, my name is Peridiam, and this is the long history of the wall competition in Big Brother. The wall comp is, without a doubt, one of the most iconic comps in all of the show. And why wouldn't it be? A test of will, of grit, of endurance is everything that fans tend to want from players. How bad do you want to win $750,000? That's the ultimate question going into the house, and while the comp itself is only for the head of household and a minor glimpse of power for a week, it's still the most important question nonetheless. That's why endurance comps are always my favorite, and the same thing goes for Survivor, just players standing there trying to outlast all the rest. Other than OTEV, the wall might be the most iconic comp in the entire series, and the fact that it didn't even arrive until season 10 is pretty shocking. But the reality is that we've always had endurance comps, like the time June and Allie peed themselves while trapped in a cage, or Monica peed herself while in a waterbed, or Howie took a dump. Okay, no, that didn't happen. Howie! But the wall was different. It took the same recipe as previous comps, a simple design, it's a freaking wall, and amped up the creative design choices. The players were hanging from the side of a building with sawdust dumped on them and simulated earthquakes happening from time to time. The wall would shake and potentially throw people off. It was more than just a button press. It was a battle to not fall 10 feet to their proverbial soft, cushiony death.
I'm sorry, guys.
Down goes Frazier.
Good job, Jerry.
Good job, Colonel.
Since the wall's beginning in season 10, the mainline Big Brother series in the US has had 15 variations of the wall appear, dating all the way up to present day. Big Brother Canada has also had 2 instances of the wall, and Celebrity Big Brother has had 3, although I'm only going to be sticking to the main US series for this video. Each year has provided something different and unique, and I figured, given that it's just such an iconic comp, let's take a deeper dive into the entire timeline and explore what's changed in those 15 iterations and who has proven themselves to be better at hanging up there. Guys or gals, older players or youngins, and then other miscellaneous records like the shortest time. And you know what? Let's just cut right to the chase. You might be curious to know who is better at the wall comp. Is it all the men or all the women? Well, I checked the stats, I checked average placements, accounting for cast size and all that, and I concluded that men often finish around 6th place on average, whereas women finish 5th place on average. So the ladies took that victory, which didn't surprise me too much going into this video, but I was shocked to find the averages were a lot closer than I expected. And when you consider that the women account for 9 of the 15 winners of the wall comps compared to only 6 for the men, a noticeable trend is that while women more often win, men do regularly come in second, with the numbers being reversed. 9 male runners-up to only 6 female. In the Battle of the Ages, across 140 house guests who have ever stood up on the ledge, the average age of all of those players, of all 140, is around 29 years old. But the average age for the winners is 27, skewing younger. For the female winners in particular, it's 26.9, whereas for the men, it's 27.5. The youngest winner was Nicole on season 18, who was up there for over 2 hours, whereas the oldest winner was Danny on season 22, who lasted for nearly an hour and a half. Conversely, the youngest guy was Cody on season 16, just a few months older than Nicole. Meanwhile, the oldest man was Matt on season 12, a year younger than Danny. But I think my favorite stat that I've gleaned from all of this number crunching is how of the 15 wall comps, 7 seasons saw the women outperform the men, meanwhile another 7 seasons saw the men outperform the women. Only 1 season had both the men and the women perform equally, and that was the first HOH of Big Brother 17. But those are all numbers, and numbers are boring and flaccid, unlike the wall, so let's actually take a look at the evolution of the wall itself and take notes. Because if you're going to be a future player, or you're just a wall enthusiast, there is a lot more to consider than meets the eye.
30 seconds? I could have lasted longer than that. It's embarrassing.
Big Brother 10 is one of my favorite iterations just because it shakes. Unique as ever. Most walls nowadays just like tilt back and forth, but this one got freaky. It also gave us the iconic Dan football coach pep talks, which were a nice touch, although should be said, not exactly a feature of the wall itself.
No one in your entire life has given you a chance. It's you against the rest of the world. Or would your family want you to come down? I don't think so. No! No!
For Big Brother 11, the following season, we didn't actually have a wall. So here's a clip of Jordan running into Russell, who's kind of like a wall.
You think I'm scared of you, Russell? You think I'm scared of you?
Come on!
For Big Brother 12, we saw the wall return for the first time, this time involving cold water pouring down over the house guests as they balance on retractable surfboards. Probably exactly like the real thing, hanging 10, one major difference with this version was the lack of support. A big difference from Big Brother 10, the players had to brace themselves against the wall to keep themselves from falling off. This is also the beginning of Brendan's arc of complaining about the competitions disadvantaging people with big feet. Matt went on to win after the first 5 players to jump off became halves for the week. I actually like this twist and kinda wish it would return. Do you go for the HOH or would you rather eat food all week?
Stay focused, man. Stay focused, guys.
Man, you better quit acting so cool on that pool.
You don't have to give it to me. I'm totally fine. I think I can do this all night. So if you want to play it out, you can play it out too. I don't really care.
But the wall did return on Big Brother 13 with a new iteration, a ski slope where the players had 2 pegs to hold on to while their feet were involuntarily rocked back and forth. Kind of like the first time I went skiing and managed to get blisters on both feet and faceplant into the snow, this too looks not fun. But Danny won, and it should be said that Shelly is the oldest contestant to last the longest in all of Big Brother, age 40, coming in third and hanging up there for over an hour. Also, this is the only season where one gender decimated the other, with all of the men falling out before the women.
And she's back in the game, folks.
When it comes to the longest wall comp in Big Brother history, look no further than Big Brother 14. Hanging onto the side of a boat, Danielle lasted for 3 hours and 15 minutes on that bar, setting a record that has yet to be beat. And frankly, I doubt it will be beat given the evolution of the wall that I'll be talking about real soon. What's unique about this iteration is that the bar itself was adjustable, which probably helped in it lasting forever. Not to mention Danielle was promised a kiss from Shane if she won, so she may as well have been super glued up there.
I need to freeze this moment, hold on to it. I just got a great kiss by Shane. And I was like, okay, hey.
Big Brother 15 changed the game quite a bit. The wall this season had a new challenge to it. It was all about catching 10 balls instead of just surviving. To be honest, I don't like this edition only because it takes away from the endurance, which is kind of why I'm watching them in the first place. Most of the time the players fell off because they were focused on the balls, not the plank. Well, unless they were Helen, in which case neither mattered because she was Wait, why was that bleeped? Helen was What the This is ridiculous. Helen was squished. Oh, okay, that gets through. Anyway, Big Brother 16 is the lamest iteration by far, as it took place at the final 3 when Helen was All right, I give up. BB16's was bizarre. I loved the idea of a hang glider, but because it happened so late in the season at the final 3, it was pretty uneventful and lacked any suspense. Like, it's Cody and Derek versus Victoria. I wonder who's gonna win. Big Brother 17 has had 2 iterations of the wall, the only season to date that has had that distinction. In the first HOH of the season, half of the cast basically competed in the same version of Big Brother 15's where Helen wasn't pushed. Like a scene out of the movie Carrie, this time they had tomato juice shot at them, and apparently it actually was tomato flavored. I appreciate the level of commitment. It also has my favorite finish of any wall, where all 4 finalists fell off at the same time by accident.
We checked tape.
But then later in BB17, we saw a massive change to the wall take place. Probably the biggest change in all of civilization, at least since the creation of the wall itself. For the first time ever, the wall moved back and forth. Yeah, I didn't even realize that this was when it first took place, but every previous wall was stationary except for Big Brother 10, which was shooketh. BB17 brought about the moving wall that could angle the players further downward, increasing the pressure on their body. This version also had eagles swooping down and knocking the wind out of them, which was kind of funny. I also need to mention how rock climbing grips were added as well. This meant that the players now had different ways to position themselves as opposed to just a single bar or a peg. BB17 changed the wall forever. In BB18, we saw the grips go away in favor of a single plank. This was a more basic version of the wall, and I kind of consider it to be a downgrade. We also saw James basically hack it with his strategy for a three-peat, only throwing it to Nicole at the 2-hour mark instead of winning it for a third time in 2 seasons. Big Brother 19 changed the grips again, 3 stiff handholds vertically on top of one another, and then lots of rain pouring down dampening the mood, and some unpleasant green goo. Big Brother 20 is one of my favorites, as the players are now up in the treetops instead of just on a wall. They each get a tree with only 2 grips this time instead of 3, slightly more difficult. But more than that, this season attempts to change the prevailing strategy to win. If you were paying close attention, you may notice a tiny block was added between each player's legs to force the players to stand up at all times. Because James used to crouch down and easily crushed his competition both on BB17 and 18, and then the players copied him for Big Brother 19, here the producers on Big Brother 20 are upping the ante. Crouching is no longer possible. Not even the hacker could hack this one.
I feel like this competition was basically made for me. I have really good endurance. I can hold a plan for...
Big Brother 21 featured a haunted house theme with 3 wooden planks to adjust your hands on. This looked rather accommodating as it assisted any height. Despite that, this became the shortest wall comp yet, coming in at only 54 minutes, the first time the wall comp lasted less than an hour. We did see the return of the eagles, although this time in the form of ghosts swinging down to hit the players, which is always a nice touch. It also featured my favorite fall.
Good job, girl!
Now, I'm not ranking the walls in this video, but if I were, I think Big Brother 22 is probably my second least favorite wall, if only because for an all-star season, the creative design choices are just rather generic. It's a giant billboard and there's rain. The players did have 3 grips, which is the second time since Big Brother 17, but otherwise, there's just not much to talk about here, except that Danny is the oldest wall comp winner thus far at 33. Big Brother 23 had a cruise ship with the BB19 grips brought back. The tourists above would occasionally vomit onto the house guests below, which I thought was a thematically interesting touch, also not too dissimilar to the last time I went on a cruise ship. Not gonna lie, not a big fan of cruise ships. But all of this leads us to the latest wall as of this video. That is from Big Brother 24 with the most uniquely bizarre theme ever. A festival about conspiracy theories. Oh yes, of course, the Flat Earthers Festival, where we trip out on fake news and misinformation. What is this, 3rd century BC? That being said, this is probably my favorite theme just because it's really taking a firm stance on where the producers lie on the debate of whether the Earth is flat or not. And just the creative concept of a flat wall tilting and the players falling off is actually pretty clever, and I tip my hat. But more than that, not only is this the shortest wall comp ever, coming in at only 47 minutes, it also set the record for shortest time a player has ever lasted on the wall. But as Jasmine would say herself after she brought a cane into the pool, pain is temporary.
Jasmine fell off so fast, all I can imagine in her voice is her saying, I fell off quicker than a mudslide on a hot Mississippi day.
I try my best to stay up on that wall, but honey, my arms are feeling like fresh noodles in a pot. This wasn't my comp.
And that's all she wrote, or scooted. That is the long history of the wall competition in Big Brother. Younger players outperform the elderly with their canes, women slightly outperform men, and it goes without saying, but yeah, generally being in better shape and having a smaller frame and probably smaller shoe size helps a lot. Mostly, though, I just wanted to make a video talking about the wall and everything it's had to offer. And even though I always seem to expect the next pressure cooker, the average wall only lasts about an hour and 40 minutes on average, and that number is slowly decreasing with more modern seasons. So that's a bit of a down note, but still, the wall is great, one of my favorite comps. There you go. Either way, let me know what you think. And a big thank you to my patrons for sticking with me up on the edge after all this time. We're living the high life, literally. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to put on a hoodie on your way out, and I will see you in the next one. Once Helen was pushed. Oh, okay, I went through. Helen was